Hello, and welcome to the Compliance Monitoring Unit webinar. We had a little bit of technical difficulty with the audio, but I think that we are now ready to move forward. My name is Erica Monterosa, and I'm the Public Information Officer for the Department of Industrial Relations. Before we get rolling, just a few quick suggestions. The speakers are actually connecting with you via telephone, but everyone else should be able to hear the audio portion via your computer. So please, if you do have a microphone, make sure that microphone is muted. And then there will be a Q&A session as part of this presentation, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type your question by clicking on Q&A, and then you type your question and click on Ask. And we will be answering those questions at some point in the presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Eric Rude, Assistant Chief of the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement. Eric, go right ahead.
Well, thank you, Erica. I want to thank all of you participating in this webinar today. Before we get started, let's go ahead and conduct an interactive poll. The poll question is, how would you describe your role in public works projects?
All right, we're going to go ahead and answer those questions, so feel free to respond, and we're going to be closing that at 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Eric, you should be able to see the results.
Okay, it appears the majority of the people attending today are awarding bodies, representing 24%. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Today we will be focusing on a variety of topics, including CMU jurisdiction, what projects CMU will be required to monitor and enforce, electronic certified payroll reporting service, also known as ECPR, the awarding body's role for projects coming under CMU's jurisdiction, the contractor's legal responsibilities when working on CMU projects, and the types of CMU enforcement. Now, as Eric has mentioned, there will be an opportunity to ask questions in an interactive question and answer period at the end of the presentation. What is CMU's mission? The mission is to ensure workers are paid the proper prevailing wages as required by law, to create a level playing field for contractors bidding and working on public works projects, to verify state construction projects are completed in compliance of all labor laws and taxpayer resources are being used for their intended purposes. CMU is also committed to making sure that we proactively educate contractors in an attempt to mitigate potential violations, that workers are treated fairly and equally, and that CMU acts as a deterrent for contractors who try to underbid by using any schemes attempting to underpay workers the required prevailing wages. What is the CMU? On February 20th, 2009, the governor signed into law Senate Bill X2-9, creating the Compliance Monitoring Unit. As a result of this bill, awarding agencies will be required to pay the Department of Industrial Relations a fee of 1/4% of the funds arising from state construction bonds, or 1/4% of the total contract price for design-build projects. In turn, the CMU will be required to monitor and provide prevailing wage enforcement on those projects. The new CMU and LCB regulations will be in effect next week on August 1st. CMU will monitor certain public works projects which have state bond funding and projects where awarding bodies use design-build construction. Projects subject to CMU oversight include all state construction bond projects, with the exception of Proposition 84, the Safe Drinking Water Bond Act. A list of state construction bond projects requiring CMU oversight and the final version of the new regulations can be found on our website. Also, any future state construction bonded projects would require oversight by CMU. We have developed a single notice system for awarding bodies. The law already requires awarding bodies to submit contract award information to DIR by submitting a DAS-13 form. In the new CMU regulations, there is also a requirement for awarding bodies to provide contract award notification. Rather than requiring an awarding body to complete yet another form, we have revised the DAS-13 form to include the required information. Awarding bodies access to electronic certified payroll reports. Awarding bodies will be required to register with the Labor Commissioner's eCPR service, and the awarding bodies will be able to monitor their contractors and take cognizance of any violations as required by law. Contract language changes. The new regulations require awarding bodies to put in the Public Works contract language requiring the Public Works contractor to adhere to all Public Works statutes found in the Labor Code, and requiring all contractors to use the Labor Commissioner's eCPR service. The CMU regulations also require awarding bodies to provide a poster to their prime contractor with specific language notifying employees and the public that the project is under CMU jurisdiction. The department has developed this poster free of charge. And you'll be able to see an example of this poster at the end of the presentation. Okay, let's try to take another interactive poll.
Okay, very good. The question is whether you have ever used a computer-based certified payroll reporting system. And we're going to be closing those polls in about 5 seconds, so use your mouse to vote now or forever hold your peace. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're closing the polls.
Well, it appears that a majority of you have not used computer-based certified payroll reporting systems, a whopping 61%. All right, the electronic certified payroll reporting, the eCPR. Contractors will have the ability to upload payroll information data from their current construction accounting or payroll software program directly into a department-approved certified payroll reporting form with our new eCPR service. Cost savings to contractors and public entities. The Labor Commissioner's eCPR service will make it more efficient for public works contractors and public entities to maintain, prepare, submit, and make available for inspection the certified payroll reports. Awarding bodies will be able to access our eCPR service, and our service will allow awarding bodies to review information from their contractors. Awarding bodies will be able to accept or reject certified payroll reports and provide notification to contractors with a push of a computer key. Redacted CPRs. The eCPR service will allow for easy redacting of records by awarding bodies and contractors when interested parties wish to receive copies of certified payroll reports. This will prevent awarding body staff and construction companies' office employees to spend a lot of labor hours redacting certified payroll reports. A big advantage of the eCPR service will allow CMU and awarding bodies to conduct labor compliance utilizing a paperless submission system, which will benefit for not having to store large quantities of records. The eCPR service will be available for awarding bodies and contractor as early as next week. Our website has a detailed section of our new eCPR service. We will be providing specific training to contractors and awarding bodies by utilizing future webinars.
And Eric, we do have a question that bears mentioning right now. Someone is asking whether you can define awarding bodies.
Awarding bodies are public entities who award public works projects pursuant to the Labor Code. It's defined in Labor Code Section 1720. All construction, alteration, demolition work done under contract utilizing public funds. And if it's over, the general, if it's over $1,000, then it's subject to the public works laws and prevailing wages.
Okay, thank you.
CMU's effective enforcement. CMU will be electronically reviewing all CPRs on a monthly basis and will be able to catch errors quickly, resulting in workers being paid wage shortages more efficiently. Contractors will be given an electronic mail notification, allowing them to fix these errors early on rather than waiting until the project has been completed. This will be beneficial to contractors who make simple errors and enforcement who are not willfully violating prevailing wage laws. Also, as part of our CMU effective enforcement, we will have increased contact with the awarding bodies as the labor commissioners, investigators, and auditors may be conducting on-site inspections and reviewing contract documents to verify compliance. Enforcement will be ongoing through the life of the construction project cycle. Our goal is to have projects completed in compliance of all state labor laws. Our investigators will conduct interviews, meet with job inspectors or other awarding body staff to verify the authenticity of the certified payroll reports submitted by contractors as necessary. The CMU will be accepting complaints similar to our Public Works unit. Once the complaint has been completed, the complaint can be mailed or filed in person to any of our 18 labor commissioners' offices. The complaint form, instructions, and a current list of CMU projects being monitored may be found on our website. Once a complaint has been filed, the complaint will be reviewed by CMU staff, which may lead to further targeted audits and investigations. However, we are hoping that the early notice to contractors and to awarding bodies, we will reduce the number of complaints filed. We have also worked with the Department of Finance to develop a statistically valid methodology to conduct random audits. This involves risk assessment allowing for a higher probability to conduct random audits on riskier projects. Factors that could make projects more risky include awarding bodies who have had a history of prevailing wage problems, high-dollar public works projects, and contractors who've had prior labor issues. Our staff has diligently been working on developing information sources for the public. We have created a CMU webpage, which can be found on the Labor Commissioner's website. We have also a public information email site allowing the public to ask questions or allowing the public to obtain more information about the unit. Posters are available and can be obtained through our unit's email address listed on the slide or may be obtained in person from one of the Labor Commissioner's offices also located on our website. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the posters. And as you can see, the posters are available in both English and in Spanish. All the required regulatory language has been added to the poster. And you can see the red arrows pointing at the local office telephone number. So there's an area to input the local office of wherever that project is occurring. We're also going to be conducting future webinars and seminars. Currently, we have 2 seminars that we have set up, one in Sacramento on August 3rd, and that's going to be at the California Secretary of State building. They're at 1500 11th Street there in Sacramento from 2 to 4 p.m. Now, you can register online, but space is limited. We also have a seminar on August 12th in Fresno at the Fresno State building at 2550 Mariposa Mall Room, number 1036, and that's again Thursday, August 12th from 10 a.m. to noon. If you're interested in any of these seminars, you can go into our website and reserve a space. Now, again, space is limited, and you do need to register online. This ends the presentation section of the webinar. Let's go ahead and do another interactive poll before we proceed to the question and answer period. Eric, would you please moderate the poll question and results for us?
I'd be happy to, Eric.
Thanks.
The question is, what one issue would you like more information about? And the responses you can see there. We'll give you just a moment to read through all the responses and choose the one that best applies. If by chance you click Other and you would like other topics to be included or you'd like more information about other topics, please also use the Q&A and let us know what other topic that you would like covered. And I do still see folks are responding to those questions, so we'll give you a moment. All right, and we're going to be closing the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Eric, let me just go ahead and show the results.
Ideal. So it looks like we have a tie for the top spot. One is requirements for public entities awarding public works projects. And the other one that was tied was how the CMU will monitor public works projects.
And that's really going to help us as we move forward and plan additional informational meetings, correct?
Absolutely. This will help us fine-tune future webinars.
Well, I do see quite a few questions here and want to open that portion up if you're ready, Eric.
Okay.
All right, and I also wanted to introduce Nancy Stefan, the Program Manager for the Compliance Monitoring Unit with the DIR. Nancy and Eric will be responding to questions that are program specific. And we do have a few questions in terms of whether the program is downloadable or whether this presentation, is downloadable. And we are actually recording this presentation, and that will be posted to our website later this week, hopefully today or tomorrow. So the very first question that we have is, how will you ensure that all tier subcontractors provide eCPRs?
Okay, Nancy, would you like to take that one?
Sure.
Get started?
Sure. When an awarding body notifies the CMU that they are awarding a contract on a project that's subject to our monitoring, they will register with the Electronic Certified Payroll Service and will provide us with the information on their prime contractor. Once we have that information, we will be contacting the prime contractor to make sure that that company is registered on the Electronic Certified Payroll Service.
Nancy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're very faint. Is there any way that you can repeat your question and maybe get closer to your phone?
Yeah, let me try that again, just a minute. Is this better?
Oh, that's worlds better.
Okay. What I was saying is the awarding bodies will be registered into the Electronic Certified Payroll Service by the CMU once we are notified that a project is being awarded. The awarding body will provide us with the name of the prime contractor, and then the CMU will be contacting the prime contractor to register them into the Electronic Certified Payroll Service and any of their subcontractors. And that will give us information about who should be reporting on a weekly basis to the CMU.
Very good. We do have another question. Will an awarding body need to revise contract language to require eCPR submission if the awarding body continues enforcement and requests a fee waiver from CMU?
I'll take this one, Nancy. If an awarding body is an approved labor compliance program with the Department of Industrial Relations, then they would be responsible to do the oversight of that project and would not use the eCPR service that's provided by the Labor Commissioner's Office.
All right, very good. The next question is, will the general public have access to this information or just contractors and awarding bodies?
If the question is about the Electronic Certified Payroll Service, it will only be available to the awarding agency, the contractors, and the Compliance Monitoring Unit. If a member of the public submits a request for certified payroll reports to the Compliance Monitoring Unit, the Compliance Monitoring Unit will provide redacted payrolls.
Okay, thank you. And another question is, will the Compliance Monitoring Unit be visiting the job site weekly like it's done now?
Yeah, what will happen is we will do on-site inspections of projects. Now, whether or not that's weekly is going to depend on our availability and what have you, but we will be conducting on-site inspections, and our auditors and investigators will be doing majority of their job will be out in the field conducting on-site inspections.
Okay. Another question that we have is who pays the 0. I guess it's 1/4 of 1% fee, the contractor or the awarding body?
The fees, if it's a result of a bond funded project, the fees will come from the bond proceeds that are provided to the awarding agency. It is the awarding agency that is responsible for paying the fee to the department. However, that's not to say that the fee wouldn't be passed on to the contractor in some form. So even on design build, it is the awarding body's responsibility to pay the fee to the department.
Very good. And one question is, where is the Module A flowchart? I don't know what that is.
Okay, the Module A flowchart is would be found on our website. Currently, our website, when it deals with the flowcharts, haven't been updated as of yet. But
okay, very good. Thank
we'll have
you.
it on there.
Thank you. The next question is, which public works projects will be required to be monitored by the compliance monitoring unit?
I believe Eric covered that, but again, it's the projects that are state construction bond funded in whole or in part, or those projects that are awarded using a design build procurement process.
Very good. By the way, there is one question about the website. The website address is www.dir.ca.gov. And then, help me out here, Eric. Is it backslash?
Backslash.
DLSE, and then backslash CMU, and then another backslash CMU.html. We will have that information on one of the pages that's coming up right now. We do have one other question. Actually, there's a few questions, pardon me. In your definition of AB and public works, you stated, among other things, that the project cost will be under $1,000. In CMU LCP, is it under $25,000?
Yeah, the general rule is $1,000. Now, there is a limited prevailing wage exemption that you can find in the regulations for awarding bodies that have labor compliance programs that would allow a cap of $25,000 for new construction before prevailing wages would be required.
Okay. And we do have a question about what the requirements are for the funding agencies.
Is it a specific question, Erica?
No, it's a general question. And also, Nancy, we do have some comments that folks are not able to hear you quite so well. So maybe we need to ask that the person that asked that question if they can be a little more specific, because that's a big question, isn't it?
Yes, and I'm not sure. I'm not clear on the question to be able to answer it.
Okay, very good. If the person that asked that question, if you could let us know what specifically you're looking for, then we can try to address it. And bear with me for a moment here. We do have one question on the CMU enforcement and how that would, how would the CMU enforce 1776G on a subcontractor?
Well, 1776G is the section where a contractor fails to report certified payroll reporting. If, again, they're going to be noticed, a notice will be, this eCPR service will provide the contract notice first that they're delinquent in filing their certified payroll reports. And once that notice goes out, there's, of course, fees that, or penalties for not filing the certified payroll report timely, and they would be assessed potentially 1776G penalties at $25 per day per employee.
Okay, very good. We do have one question on what program is being used for the electronic payrolls.
The department has entered into a contract with a company called Hill International. Some of you may know it as TRS Consultants, and that is the company that will be providing the electronic certified payroll service for the department.
Very good. We have another question on awarding bodies. Is the awarding body the state agency awarding funds to an applicant through a bond program, or the awardee, for example, a local public agency that receives the bond funds that then enters a contract for construction of the project? I think we have some questions in terms of what awarding body clearly means.
Okay. Well, the awarding body, again, is a public entity who is awarding a public works contract. Now, whether that's a special district, a city, a county, or a state agency, that would qualify as a awarding body. So it's a public entity awarding a public works project.
Okay. And when projects are funded with both state and federal funds, is the awarding body required to use the CMU?
If part of the funds being used on the project are state construction bond funds, or if the awarding agency is using the design-build procurement process, then yes, they would be required to use the CMU.
And we have a second portion to that question. If the project is only federally funded, does that still stand?
No, if the project is entirely federally funded, it is not subject to the Compliance Monitoring Unit's oversight.
Okay, another question is, what activities will awarding bodies still be required to engage in, even with the CMU monitoring? This would be under the taking cognizance requirement.
Right. And Labor Code Section 1726 already requires that an awarding body, a public entity awarding public contracts, take any cognizance of violations on their project. This will continue to be their mandate as well. So whether it's a project that comes under CMU enforcement or Public Works Unit enforcement or an LCP monitored enforcement, there's still a requirement for the awarding body to take cognizance of any violations on their project.
Okay. We do have another question, but I'm noting that quite a few people are using the raise your hand, and we're going in order of the way that the questions are asked. So when you're raising your hand, you're actually not able to type in a question, so it's a little counterproductive for you. What I would prefer, or what I would suggest, is that you please type in your question, as is shown in the example here on the slide, and then click Ask. And then if you've already typed a question and you have additional questions, which is perfectly fine, we're trying to get to them as time allows, then the suggestion would be that you click Edit. Edit is then there instead of Ask, and then type your question over the previous one that you had typed. Okay, thank you very much for that small commercial. And now, will the CMU provide the prime contractor the wage determinations that are appropriate for the specific question, or for the specific project?
No, the Compliance Monitoring Unit is not responsible for providing the wage determinations. Those will be provided through the awarding agency, and if the awarding agency chooses to refer the contractor to the Division of Labor Statistics and Research to obtain the appropriate rates for the classifications to be used, that will occur. But the CMU will not be providing wage determinations.
Very good. Another question is, I do not see Prop 1E projects listed on your bonds page. Is Prop 1E exempt?
Prop 1E is actually, which is the Stormwater Flood Management Bond, is subject to CMU enforcement. Our website does need to include not only just 1E, but also 1C, which is the Housing and Emergency Shelter Trust Act Fund, and Prop 1D, the California Education Bond, are all bonds that would fall under CMU enforcement.
We'll update our website to reflect those.
Okay, very good. Okay, we do have another question. Does this new program go into effect with projects that have already started?
No, the Compliance Monitoring Unit's jurisdiction is on projects that are awarded after August 1st, 2010. So if you have an ongoing project that was awarded any time prior to August 1st, those projects would be subject to Public Works enforcement through the Labor Commissioner's Office and its complaint processing. But they would not be subject to monitoring by the CMU.
Okay. Questions are coming in fast and furious, so thank you very much for continuing to ask questions. The next one is, how does an awarding body who has an approved LCP obtain an exemption from the CMU fees?
Eric, do you want me to respond to that one?
Sure.
The labor compliance programs that are currently approved by the director of the department will be receiving a notice this week asking for some additional information about their program. And the reason for that is because there were some changes in the regulations that affected labor compliance programs as well, including the limits on consultants being used. When that information comes back in to our office so we can evaluate whether the program is being operated in accordance with the regulations, there will be an automatic waiver of fees.
Okay, very good. The next question is for funding agencies. Are you requiring any notification to DIR, either awarding a bond-funded grant to an entity or of release of funds? And are you requiring any funding agencies to pay the bond funds directly to DIR as opposed to releasing the funds to an awarding body who then in turn pays the 0.25% to DIR?
Okay, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question real quick?
Sure, I know, it's a two-part.
Yeah.
So for the first one, this is a funding agency's question. Is it a requirement are you requiring any notification to DIR? In other words, does DIR have to be notified either when awarding a bond-funded grant to an entity or of release of funds?
Okay, the notification provisions is found in the regulations, the new regulations. Deals with awarding bodies. So there's no requirement in the regulations from the source of the funds to notify us. However, we would prefer, as far as when it comes to the fees from the source, bond funding source, to go ahead and send us the fees directly, which allows us to, first of all, notifies us that there is fees that are coming into the unit, as well as making it more efficient for us to collect the fees up front, then going back to the awarding body and asking for those fees.
Okay. And if I could just add to that, we are entering into agreements with some of the funding agencies for notification directly to the department. That's just to assist us in knowing which projects that we need to monitor. And we are looking at the possibility of requiring that the funding agencies pay the fees directly to the department rather than it going to the awarding agency and then back to the department. However, those plans are not completed yet.
Okay. The next question is, what contract language changes will be required, and have the changes already been sent out to the various state agencies?
The changes are actually found in our new regulations, and as of when they go into effect on August 1st, there's going to be the requirement that within the Public Works contract language to make sure that the Labor Code section, that all Public Works sections of the Labor Code are followed, and there isn't a requirement to notify the contractor that they will be required to use an eCPR service on any project that CMU has jurisdiction on.
Okay. We do have another question on the requirements. What are the requirements to be able to electronically submit the payroll, and how will we know if our software is compatible?
If there is a contractor who has a electronic payroll service at this point, most of the major ones already have been tested and they can be uploaded directly into the eCPR service. If a contractor has a program that is not one of the major ones, that we will be getting those contractors in touch with our vendor who will design a process by which the information can be uploaded.
Okay, and we have another question on when will CMU receive the 1/4% of the bond fee from the awarding body, before the monitoring process or after the project's finished?
Up front, actually, before we actually conduct the monitoring and enforcement.
And a question from another person, but that segues very well into this, is will the CMU share the bid advertisement date with the prime contractor?
I'm not sure I understand that. The bid advertisement date comes from the awarding agency, and that's prior to the award of the contract. So the awarding agency would be setting the bid advertisement date based on when they release the project for bids from contractors.
Okay. It looks like at this point we have just one other question for asking the general meeting, and that is, will the compliance monitoring unit post contractor violations for the public to view?
You're going to finish this one up, Nancy?
Well, if there is a violation that results in a civil wage and penalty assessment, those are currently posted on the governor's transparency site, and the CMU would also be required to post those, and we will continue to do so after the unit goes into effect.
Okay, and we do have another question, and that is, do exempted labor compliance programs have access to view the eCPR system?
I'm not sure what the exempted, the ones that will not be using the electronic certified payroll service. If they're not using it, they would not have access to it if their projects are not subject to CMU monitoring.
Okay. The next question is, it's stated on the CMU website that awarding agencies are still responsible for reporting suspected violations. Are awarding agencies still required to review CPRs for possible violations if CMU is monitoring the project?
And the answer to that again is yes. Because of Labor Code Section 1726, the eCPR service will allow the awarding body to not only review the certified payroll report, but also to accept it or reject it based on information they may have. If they have job inspectors that are going out on the project, for instance, and they notice that the electrical subcontractor had, 7 workers on a particular date, and when they review the certified payroll report and they only show 5, they could reject the certified payroll record based on a report based on the information that they may have already obtained through their own inspections.
Okay. And, it looks as if there's just one final question, and that is, can you repeat the dates and locations for the upcoming seminars, starting with the Sacramento seminar?
Oh, without a doubt. The first one is going to be August 3rd. That's a Tuesday, and it's going to be at the California Secretary of State Auditorium in Sacramento, and the address for that is 1500 11th Street, and it starts at 2 and it ends at 4, so that's between 2 and 4 p.m. on Tuesday, August 3rd.
However, anybody wishing to attend, though, must pre-register. We are limited on our seating due to fire marshal requirements. So if you have not registered to attend, please do not show up because we won't be able to let you in.
Yeah, so it's important that to go ahead to our website and get pre-registered. We also, on August 12th, which is a Thursday, we'll be conducting a seminar in Fresno at the Fresno State Building, and that's at 2550 Mariposa Mall, and that's going to be in room 1036. So 2550 Mariposa Mall, room 1036, and that's going to be between the hours of 10 and noon.
Okay. And we do have a question on whether revenue bonds included among on whether revenue bonds are included among the affected bond requirements. Should I restate that?
Revenue bond.
Are revenue bonds included among the affected bond requirements? Is the question.
Yeah. The answer is for the Compliance Monitoring Unit enforcement. All state construction bonds, with the exception to Proposition 84, will be subject to CMU enforcement.
Okay. I just wanted to go back to that page for the website because we do have people asking about the website. So this is the website address.
Yeah, and just to remind you as well that we do have an inbox that we have established for CMU to ask questions or to obtain more materials regarding the CMU.
We do have a question in terms of whether there will be a seminar in Southern California. And actually, yes, there is a seminar in Southern California. However, registration has already filled for that. So that's a yes, but there's no room at the inn.
We'll be looking at other dates for possibly scheduling additional ones, but the department is really looking at trying to use these webinars. The information that's going to be presented at the in-person seminars is the same information that you're hearing now. So we are really going to try and use webinars because we have limited staff at the moment, and for us to conduct in-person seminars and travel throughout the state is a bit difficult at this time.
Do we have time to ask a few more questions? Nancy and Eric?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Another question is whether the public will be aware of any IWC violations or if they will be posted on the website.
Will the public be aware of any IWC violations? We will not be posting any IWC violations on our website. Specifically, what will be posted will be issues of public works prevailing wage law issues where a civil wage and penalty assessment has been issued. That's available on the website. But as far as general, there could be some issues with IWC orders or maybe other labor law violations. It's a matter for public information under a Public Information Act request, but as far as having specific space on our web page, the answer would be no.
Okay. And we do have a few more questions that have rolled in. So the other one is, does a CPR request go to the awarding body or to the compliance monitoring unit?
Just as current law, it can go to the awarding agency, the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, or the compliance monitoring unit for handling.
Okay. And the same person is asking two other questions, so I'm just doing it a little bit at a time so that they can be answered appropriately. The next question is, how many investigators the compliance monitoring unit has employed to monitor projects? And you're currently hiring, aren't you?
Yes, we are, actually, and you can find that on our webpage, Job Opportunities with CMU. Of course, we're right now in the implementation process, and we will be, our first series of hirings will be taking us here in the next month here in August. We'll be hiring staff such as Deputy Labor Commissioner 1s, Auditor 1s, we'll have a Senior Special Investigators, we'll have attorneys, plus clerical staff. Anyone that's interested in employment with CMU must first gain entrance to a civil service examination for which they would have to qualify and successfully compete. So it does go under the civil service requirements as far as being hired.
Okay. And the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Long-winded, but yes.
Exactly. And in terms of who receives complaints that are submitted by a joint labor management committee, the compliance monitoring unit or the awarding body? I think you answered that question already, but
well, complaints
it doesn't hurt to restate it.
Right. Well, complaints can be filed in any of the Labor Commissioner's 18 offices. Complaints can be filed with the awarding body and CMU. There's nothing that prohibits filing complaints with the awarding body as well. But for our purposes, when we say filing a complaint, that's within the Labor Commissioner's offices.
Okay. You know, that concludes our question and answer session for today. If for some reason you have additional questions, or perhaps you had questions that skirted by us and we didn't ask them, please do contact us at cmu@dir.ca.gov. But please don't leave yet, because we do have another request. And this is the first webinar that we have conducted for the Compliance Monitoring Unit. And we are asking if you can please take a few moments to let us know how was this webinar informative? Did it help answer questions that you had? And please also help us plan for future programs by completing the brief survey that's coming up. So the next slide should actually jump to the survey itself. There's only 7 questions on this survey, and it should take less than 5 minutes to complete. You should be able to just go ahead and jump right through and answer the questions there. And thank you so much for attending. Anything further, Eric or Nancy?
No, just thank you, everyone, for attending, and please look to our website, as we will be posting additional information as we develop that, and we intend to have our website filled with information, and we are going to be posting more of the frequently asked questions. When we see multiple questions such as we saw today, we'll be putting those on the website as well, so everybody has access to it.
Great, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And that does conclude our webinar. We're going to leave the webinar meeting up so that people have a few moments to complete the survey. And thank you once again for your participation. Have a good day.